Imagine falling in love for your teacher, and then finding out she's your stepsister. This is Fujii Natsuo, a high school student who dreams of becoming a novelist. One day, while writing on the school rooftop, a strong wind blows his paper away. As he runs to pick it up, a beautiful woman grabs it first. It turns out she's his English teacher, Tachibana Hina. After reading a bit of his story, Hina becomes interested and wants to read more of his writing. From that moment, Natsuo has feelings for her, but knowing a student-teacher relationship is forbidden, he keeps his feelings hidden. Later on, Natsuo and his friends go to a group blind date with girls from another school. While the girls are introducing themselves, one girl catches Natsuo's eye. Her name is Tachibana Rui. She doesn't really care about the date, and leaves to grab a drink. Natsuo follows her outside, and they end up talking about the blind date. As he looks at Rui, she reminds him of Hina. Then, out of nowhere, Rui invites him to go out somewhere with her. To his surprise, she takes him to her apartment, and straight to her room. Then, she suddenly asks if he wants to sleep with her. Natsuo is shocked and asks why. Rui explains that she just wants to experience it once, because her friends always tease her for being inexperienced. Natsuo isn't sure at first, but thinking it might help him forget about Hina, he nervously agrees. After it happens, they both decide to move on, and act like it never happened. Back at home, Natsuo can't stop thinking about what happened with Rui, or about his feelings for Hina. Then, his father, Akihito, suddenly tells him that he plans to get remarried. Since it's been 10 years since his mother passed away, Natsuo supports his decision. His father is excited, and says the new family is coming over soon. When they arrive, Natsuo is shocked to see his father's new fiancée, Tachibana Tsukiko, and her two daughters, Hina and Rui. Yep, his teacher crush on the girl he just slept with. Natsuo is so shocked, and he faints on the spot. After waking up, Natsuo asks Tsukiko why she chose to marry his father. She explains that after being cheated on by her ex-husband, she stopped trusting men until Natsuo's father made her believe in love again. Later, they all eat some sushi and Hina starts drinking beer, teasing that he'll have to wait a few more years to drink. When Natsuo leaves to use the bathroom, Rui secretly asks if he knew about the remarriage, and he says no. Rui says she agreed to the marriage because she wants her mom to be happy again. After they leave, Natsuo tells his father to go ahead and marry Tsukiko. His father is happy to hear that, but what makes him even more excited is that he's already bought a new house, and they'll be moving next week. While helping move the boxes, Hina happily announces that they're now living under the same roof, and Natsuo secretly feels happy to be close to her. When he keeps calling her sensei, Hina teases him to call her something more casual, like Hina-chan.
Repeat after me.
But she laughs and says she's joking, he should call her Hinane instead. As Natsuo carries boxes upstairs, he accidentally runs into Rui, and things feel awkward because of what happened before. Rui quickly tells him to forget about it, and act like a normal step-siblings. Later that night, after dinner, Hina walks out in a towel, not realizing Natsuo and his dad can see her. Feeling embarrassed, Hina quickly goes back in and promises to be more careful next time. Late at night, Natsuo sees Hina passed out drunk on the couch. As he tries to wake her, she mumbles that she wants to be a good stepsister. Hearing this, Natsuo realizes he must let go of his feelings for her. Wanting to say goodbye to his love for her, he leans in to kiss her. But just then, Rui walks in and catches them. Surprisingly, Rui doesn't say anything. She just takes her sister back to her room and tells Natsuo that it was her sister's fault. The next morning, Natsuo shows up late to school, as he didn't have time to fix his messy hair. His classmate tells him there's a new transfer student in the class next door and she's really pretty. When they go to check it out, they're shocked to see it's Rui. Rui sees Natsuo and walks over to him, saying he left his lunch on the table. Natsuo quickly covers her mouth before she says anything else. Then he drags her away and begs her not to mention they live together. He doesn't want anyone knowing they're step-siblings. But Rui totally misunderstands and thinks he's embarrassed to be seen with her at all. Later, Natsuo goes to the bathroom to fix his messy hair and bumps into Hina, who's surprised by how he looks. Natsuo says he woke up late, and Hina says she already asked Rui to wake him up, but apparently Rui gave up after calling him once.
起きて。
Hina then says his messy hair looks kind of cute, which makes Natsuo blush. He nervously asks if she remembers what happened last night. Hina looks surprised and asks if they kissed. Natsuo quickly denies it, and Hina seems relieved. She says she'll be more careful from now on and leaves with a wink. During lunch break, Natsuo sees Rui eating alone in her classroom. Feeling kinda bad, he joins her and asks why she's not with any friends. Rui says some girls talked to her at first, but they slowly lost interest and left her alone. Natsuo quickly realizes that she's not good at making friends. Rui agrees and says she's nothing like Hina, who can make friends easily. So Natsuo offers to help her become more outgoing. However, when they start practicing, Rui is too blunt, and they end up arguing like an old couple. Their silly fight makes the other students laugh, and some classmates even say Rui seems fun and ask to be her friend, which she happily accepts. Later that evening, Natsuo heads to the bathroom, but accidentally finds Rui already inside. He tries to leave right away, but she asks him to stay for a bit. She thanks him for helping her make friends, and Natsuo feels a bit touched by her words. Then she suddenly brings up what happened the night before when Natsuo almost kissed Hina. Natsuo says nothing, and Rui says that maybe he only did that to make Hina feel better, since she's having problems with her boyfriend. Natsuo is surprised, but before he can ask anything, Rui leaves the bathroom. The next morning, their parent tells them that they're going to submit their marriage papers and leaves the kids at home. Hina offers to cook dinner, and Natsuo wonders if she even knows how to cook. That night, Natsuo is surprised by how good the food looks. He quickly takes a bite, and says her cooking tastes delicious. But Hina admits that most of the food was made by Rui, as she only helped with the side dishes. After dinner, Rui heads to her room, while Hina stays in the living room and drinks with Natsuo. As Hina gets a bit drunk, she suddenly slips, but Natsuo catches her just in time. Just then, her phone rings. It's her boyfriend, asking her to come out and meet him. Even though it's already super late, Hina decides to go. Natsuo offers to walk her there, but she tells him to stay and wait inside. 20 minutes pass, and Natsuo starts to feel worried. Just as he's about to go outside, Hina suddenly comes back, still arguing with her boyfriend. Natsuo quickly grabs her shoulder and asks what's going on, but Hina tells him not to worry. Then, the doorbell rings. Rui comes out and asks why no one's answering, but everyone stays silent. Rui opens the door, and it's their parents. As they walk inside, Hina quickly apologizes and runs to her room. The next day, Natsuo meets up with his best friend Fumiya at a cafe. Fumiya notices something's off and asks what happened. Natsuo tells him about last night, how Hina went out to meet her boyfriend but came back looking upset. He starts thinking maybe she's not happy in her relationship. After hearing that, Fumiya jokes that Natsuo might be jealous. He even says he feels the same way whenever pretty girls fight with their boyfriends, and he wishes they'd all break up and date him instead. As they walk home, Natsuo thanks Fumiya for listening. Just then, Fumiya suddenly spots one of the women from the day before, the one who was having an affair. Natsuo tries to look, and he's surprised to see that the woman is Hina. Later that night, Natsuo goes to Hina's room and asks if she's really having an affair. At first, she denies it, but when Natsuo says his friend overheard their conversation, she finally admits it and says it's none of his business. Natsuo gets upset and asks if this is what she meant by adult problems. Hina tells him to stay out of it, but Natsuo suddenly kisses her. Hina quickly pushes him away and slaps him. Natsuo says sorry, but she suddenly kisses him back and pushes him onto the bed. When she notices the scared look on his face, she tells him that he's still just a kid and shouldn't get involved in her life. Natsuo then leaves the room and cries. The next morning, Natsuo's father finds a letter that he's running away. They believe it's because he doesn't support the marriage, but actually, he's deeply hurt by what happened with Hina. He goes to stay at Fumiya's place for a while. Fumiya feels bad for telling him what he saw, but Natsuo says it's not his fault as he only blames himself. Fumiya then cheers him up and tells him to focus on his dream of becoming a novelist, and Natsuo agrees. Later on, Natsuo looks out the window and sees Rui walking in the rain as she's been looking for him. He runs downstairs and asks why she came. Rui asks if she can stay with him. Fumiya's mom suddenly sees them and lets her in after Rui says she's Natsuo's sister. When Fumiya gets home, he's annoyed at the surprise guest, but then his little sister arrives and asks if Rui is his girlfriend, and he confidently says yes. After explaining why she ran away from home, Rui also shares that she once overheard Hina talking to that man and already had a bad feeling. When she asked Hina if she was dating a married man, Hina asked back if Rui had ever been in love. Rui said no, so Hina told her that she wouldn't understand. Fumiya then guesses that maybe that's why Rui slept with Natsuo. Rui gets a bit upset that he brought it up, but since they don't go to the same school, she's not too bothered. Fumiya reminds them they can't stay there forever and asks what their plan is. Natsuo wants Hina to break up with that man, and Rui just wants her old sister back, so they decide to work together. A few days later, they return home and find their parents sitting in the dark, about to sign divorce papers. The parents think Natsuo ran away because he didn't support their marriage. But Natsuo clears up the misunderstanding, and their parents decide not to split up. Just then, Hina comes in with tears in her eyes, apologizing for everything she's done. The next day, Natsuo sees Hina again. They greet each other, but Natsuo walks past her and goes to the kitchen. He sits beside Rui, and says it's time to start their plan. After school, Natsuo and Rui secretly follow Hina, thinking she's meeting up with her boyfriend. But to their surprise, she just goes to a bar alone. They wait for 4 hours, but no one shows up. Hina just keeps drinking until she gets really drunk. Then out of nowhere, she suddenly runs out of the bar and they quickly follow her, only to find out she's heading to a comedy show. Yep, all that spying for nothing. So they come up with one last plan. While Hina's in the shower, Rui sneaks into her bathroom and steals her phone. She wants to pretend to be Hina and call her boyfriend to break up with him. But when the call finally connects, Rui panics and hangs up without saying a word. Feeling frustrated and out of ideas, Natsuo and Rui sit at Fumiya's cafe, trying to figure out what to do next. But suddenly, Hina walks in with her boyfriend. She's surprised to see them and quickly says that Natsuo and Rui are her siblings, but Natsuo's had enough. He stands up and tells him to break up with his teacher. Then he grabs the guy by the collar, but Fumiya's boss rushes over to stop them. After everyone calms down, they sit together to talk things out. The man introduces himself as Shu Hagiwara. He says he's married with no kids, and he was the one who started dating Hina 2 years ago. Natsuo scolds him for cheating on his wife and hurting Hina. Shu then asks if they would accept him if he got divorced. But Natsuo says no, anyone who makes Hina cry doesn't deserve to be with her. Shu apologizes to Hina, claiming that he didn't mean to hurt her and still wants to be with her. Just as Natsuo is about to explode, Rui suddenly splashes water on Shu's face. She runs out of the cafe, and Natsuo quickly goes after her. He finally catches up to her, and Natsuo admits he almost punched Shu, but Rui handled it better. Rui starts crying and says she never wants to see that guy again, so Natsuo gently comforts her. Meanwhile, Hina walks with Shu and apologizes for what Rui did. Shu tells her that Natsuo seems to have feelings for her, but Hina quickly claims that's not true, they're just siblings. Before saying goodbye, she tells Shu it's better if they stop seeing each other. He hugs her and asks how she really feels. The next morning, Natsuo notices a special date marked on his dad's calendar. It's a family gift-giving day. Hina invites Rui to go shopping with her, but she declines. Natsuo also stays behind because he's going to visit his mother's grave. He then recalls how his mother was sick and they didn't have much time together. She once told him that her heart would always worry if he couldn't stop crying. So when she passed away, Natsuo promised himself not to cry again. As Natsuo is about to pray, Hina and Rui suddenly show up with flowers. They say they want to properly introduce themselves as his new family. Hina also tells Natsuo that she broke up with Shu because he never really planned to divorce his wife, and she realized that her siblings are what matter most. Then the three of them pray together, calling themselves Natsuo's new sisters. The next morning, everything seems back to normal as Hina gets along again with Rui and Natsuo. On the way to school, Natsuo walks with Rui and says he's happy because they're starting to feel like a real family. But when she asks why he ran away from home before, he doesn't answer and runs ahead. As she arrives at school, Rui is suddenly approached by a girl named Momo Kashiwabara, who says she wants to be friends and gives her a bunny doll she made herself. Later, when Rui looks at the doll, her friends notice it and throw it in the trash. They warn her to stay away from Momo, saying she has a bad reputation for dating lots of boys. But Rui calmly picks the doll up and says that no matter what the rumors say, she'll decide for herself if she wants to be Momo's friend. After school, Rui meets Momo again, and this time, she gives her a new handmade doll that looks like her. She also asks if they can walk home together. While they enjoy their ice cream, Rui asks Momo if she's really dated many boys. Momo reveals that she's dated around 30 guys, but most of them just used her and left, which made it hard for her to make real friends. She tells Rui she wants to get closer to her, and Rui agrees. From then on, the two girls become really close and often hang out. One day in the library, they accidentally bump into Natsuo. Momo quickly gets friendly as she starts talking about books with him. On the way home, Natsuo saves her from getting hit by a bike, and that's when Momo starts to like him. As soon as Natsuo walks away, Momo asks Rui if he has a girlfriend. When Rui says no, Momo asks if it's okay for her to like him. Later, while taking bath, Rui thinks about what would happen if she helped Momo get close to Natsuo. The next day, Rui tells the boys that she's not feeling well and leaves the school early. When Natsuo wants to check on her, he runs into Momo, who gives him her number, and asks if he wants to go on a date. But instead of going out, Natsuo goes home and takes care of Rui. She asks if Momo asked him out, but Natsuo refuses, saying that he needs to look after her since it's just the two of them at home. Rui's fever gets worse, and her mom tells Natsuo to give her some medicine. Yep, that kind of medicine. The next day at school, Natsuo meets Momo and apologizes for not calling. Momo is relieved because she thought he didn't like her. While they're talking, one of Natsuo's friends sees them. Later in class, Natsuo's friend warns him that Momo is known for being an easy girl and tells him to stay away. During break, Momo brings Natsuo some food she made herself. He asks if she does this for every guy, but Momo says no, as it's only for people she likes. She tells him that if she doesn't give her best, she'll regret it later. This makes Natsuo feel a bit guilty, because deep down, he also wants to talk to Hina, but doesn't know how to open up. Then out of nowhere, Momo kisses him and holds his hand, asking him to come over to her place. At her apartment, Momo starts taking off her clothes, and Natsuo starts thinking if maybe this could help him move on from Hina. But just then, he receives a message from Rui, asking what they should make for dinner since everyone else is coming home late. Momo then tells him she's jealous of his family because her parents didn't get along, and she usually eats alone. As they keep going, Natsuo sees a scar on her wrist, but she tells him to ignore them. Then he suddenly gets up, and asks if there's a supermarket nearby. He ends up cooking dinner for her, and she really enjoys it. He tells her that if she ever needs someone to eat with, he'll be there for her. Momo starts to cry, saying that most guys leave her when they see her scars, but Natsuo was kind to her. After dinner, she asks if they can be a couple. But Natsuo gently says they should just stay friends. Momo feels a bit sad, but she's still thankful for his kindness. The next day, Natsuo is reading alone on the rooftop, when his literature teacher, Kariya-sensei, shows up. He notices the book Natsuo is holding, and feels happy that someone still enjoys reading. He also tells Natsuo that they might get along since they both like literature. Later, Rui asks Natsuo to help her find a club to join after school. She also mentions that Momo was really happy when he cooked dinner for her, and she feels jealous because he never cooked for her. Natsuo realizes when he was at Momo's place, Rui had to eat dinner alone. After school, the two of them check out a few girls' clubs, and then stop by the literature club. Natsuo finds a book written by his favorite author, Yu Hasakawa. Since the club room is empty, he takes the book without asking. The next day, Natsuo goes back to return the book, but he hears a sound coming from behind the bookshelf. When he checks it out, he sees Kariya-sensei with a girl who looks like she's about to kiss him. Natsuo panics and tries to sneak away, but he accidentally makes a noise and gets caught. When he asks what's going on, the girl explains she was just helping remove something from Kariya's eye. Kariya then tells Natsuo that since he took a book without permission, he's now officially a member of the literature club. Natsuo tries to refuse, but Kariya threatens to report him for stealing, so Natsuo has no choice but to accept. The girl introduces herself as Mio Ashihara, the president of the literature club. Now that there are two members, Kariya tells Natsuo to help find more people to join. As Natsuo passes out flyers after school, Rui shows up and asks what he's doing. Natsuo admits he got dragged into the literature club. After finishing his flyers, he notices that Ashihara is still holding all of hers, as she's too shy to give them out. He takes the flyers and helps her distribute them. She apologizes for being useless, but Natsuo tells her it's okay, as everyone has things they're good at and things they're not. The next day, Natsuo gets a letter from Kariya-sensei, asking him to come to the club. When he arrives, Kariya-sensei asks if he's ever written anything before. Natsuo says he's working on a love story, and Kariya guesses it's about unrequited love. Since Ashihara also writes romance, Kariya gives them some strange advice, as he tells them to try kissing so they can gain real experience. Natsuo is shocked, but Ashihara shyly agrees and closes her eyes. As Natsuo leans in, he notices that she looks nervous, so he stops and says he can't do it. Seeing how Natsuo chose to respect her feelings, Kariya becomes interested and asks if he can read the story Natsuo is working on. Later that night, while Natsuo is working on a club poster, Rui tells him she wants to join the club too. The next day, she brings along Momo, who also wants to join the literature club. So Natsuo takes them both to the club, and Ashihara is really happy and thanks him. But seeing Natsuo and Ashihara getting along so well makes Rui feel a bit jealous. Not sure why she feels this way, Rui goes to the cafe to talk about it. She tells the boss that she's been feeling weird lately, and he says it sounds like she might be in love, which leaves her surprised. Meanwhile, when Natsuo is alone with Hina, she suddenly asks him to go out with her next Sunday. A week later, Natsuo finally goes out with Hina. They eat at a restaurant, and the waiter calls them a cute couple, which makes Natsuo blush. They then spend the day going to different places and having fun. When they arrive at the beach, Natsuo wants to go into the water, but Hina refuses, saying she's not a kid anymore. Natsuo jokes that he'll go by himself since he still feels like one. Hina then quietly apologizes for calling him a kid. As they watch the sunset, Natsuo asks why she would get into an affair, especially since her dad also cheated on their mom. Hina explains that Shu was her first love and also her teacher. Back in high school, one of Hina's friends had a crush on a boy in their class. But the boy started talking to Hina instead, and soon, many boys began liking her. Her friend became jealous and started telling everyone that Hina was a cheater who just wanted attention from guys without knowing that Hina was hiding in the bathroom and heard everything. Hurt by their words, Hina cried alone in the science lab, until Shu found her and tried to cheer her up, which made her feel a bit better. From that moment, she started visiting him more often and slowly fell in love with him. A few years later, during her 4th year of college, she met him again only to find out he was already married. After hearing her story, Natsuo feels guilty for judging her. He tells her that he's finished writing his novel and that it was inspired by her. Then he opens up and tells her he's in love with her. Hina is surprised at first but agrees to secretly date him, as long as they don't tell Rui and their parents. She holds his hand and walks with him to the water. Natsuo starts to panic and asks what's going on. Hina tells him that if anyone ever finds out about their relationship, it would be better if they just die together because siblings aren't supposed to date. So Hina asks if maybe they should just stay as siblings. Before going back, Natsuo gives her one last hug to say goodbye to his feelings. That night, Hina reads his novel and starts to cry as she's deeply touched by his feelings. The next morning, Natsuo wakes up and finds the novel on his desk with a small note from Hina that says, "Thank you." A few days later, Rui walks into Natsuo's room. When he asks if she's okay, she suddenly grabs his hand and says they never kissed when they first met, so she wants to try it now. Natsuo says kissing is only for people in love, and reminds her that they're family, but Rui asks why he kissed Hina. Natsuo doesn't know what to say at first, but after everything that happened with Hina, he doesn't care anymore and says they can do it. So they kiss for the first time. After the kiss, Rui says she might actually like him and wants to do it again sometime. As the final exam approaches, Kariya-sensei tells everyone in the club to focus on studying so they won't fail. So Rui and Natsuo ask Hina to help them study. At first, Hina refuses because she's their teacher, but after they keep begging her, she finally agrees. During their study session, Hina notices that Natsuo didn't do well on a quiz. Rui teases him, saying he has a crush on Ashihara. Natsuo quickly denies it, and Hina seems happy that he has liked someone else, but deep down, she feels a bit jealous. Later that night, while studying, Natsuo wants to ask Hina something. He goes to her room, but the door isn't locked. When he peeks inside, he sees Hina doing something while saying Shu's name. He's shocked and accidentally drops his book. Hina hears the noise and checks outside, but Natsuo quickly hides behind the stairs so she doesn't see him. The next day, everyone takes their exams. When the results come out, Kariya-sensei congratulates the club because they all passed and Natsuo even got a really high score. As summer break begins, Natsuo spends his time working on his novel. He also notices that Hina has been acting strange since he confessed his feelings. When he gets stuck with his writing, he decides to go to school to borrow some books. But before he leaves, Rui suddenly asks if he stole her underwear. Natsuo quickly denies it, and she tells him that someone secretly stole her underwear. As he arrives at school, Natsuo suddenly gets hit by a bicycle. It turns out the guy on the bike is Alex, a new transfer student from America. They grab some food together, and the boss mentions that the police are looking for an underwear thief, which reminds Natsuo of Rui's missing underwear. After leaving the cafe, Natsuo and Alex spot someone suspicious and realize he's the thief. He quickly runs away, but Natsuo manages to stop him, and Alex knocks him out with a flying kick. Later at the police station, Rui suddenly shows up to confirm the underwear is hers. When Alex sees her, he instantly falls for her and asks Natsuo to introduce them. Back at home, while Natsuo is washing the dishes, he tells Rui that Alex likes her and wants to hang out. But Rui gets upset and walks away because deep down, she only likes Natsuo. Wanting to make things right, Natsuo goes to her room and brings her some food he made. As she eats, he tries to apologize, but Rui doesn't accept it as she wants something more. Realizing what she means, Natsuo leans in and kisses her. Just then, Hina walks in and sees them kissing. Hina is shocked and quickly runs off. Natsuo chases after her and tries to explain, but Hina refuses to listen and tells him to let go. Later, Rui goes to Hina's room and says she kissed Natsuo because she likes him. Hina tells her that they're siblings, but Rui doesn't care and reminds her they're not blood-related, which leaves Hina speechless. The next day, Alex finds out that Rui rejected him, but he's not giving up. When he sees Natsuo looking down, he asks what's going on. Natsuo says he has problems at home, and Alex encourages him to talk things out and ask how others really feel. That night, Natsuo tries talking to Hina through her door. Hina asks if he likes Rui, but Natsuo says he still loves her. After hearing that, Hina says she's decided to move out. The next morning, Hina announces to their parents that she wants to move out to become more independent. Rui asks if it's her fault, but Hina says no. Natsuo's father suggests they all go to the upcoming festival together before Hina leaves. When they arrive at the festival, Natsuo secretly watches Hina and thinks she looks really beautiful. Rui asks if Hina is moving out because of them, and Natsuo says yes. Rui then says they should wait before continuing their relationship. Their parents tell them to enjoy the festival and call them when they are ready to leave. Later, Hina is trying to catch some fish at a booth, but her phone accidentally falls into the water, so she can't contact anyone. While she's walking around, Natsuo finds her, and she's relieved to see him. He tells her to hold his hand so they don't get separated in the crowd. He brings her into the woods to talk privately. Natsuo asks if she's moving out because of what happened between them, but Hina lies and says it has nothing to do with that. Natsuo holds her hand and asks her to be honest with herself. But suddenly, Hina bites his hand and runs away. When Natsuo catches up to her, Hina finally opens up about how she feels. She admits she's always been jealous of Rui, who gets to live freely and do whatever she wants. Hina, on the other hand, has always had to act like a responsible adult and she's tired of it. Seeing him kiss Rui made her think he had given up on her. For the first time, Natsuo sees Hina speak from her heart. So he gently hugs her from behind and tells her he still loves her. He asks if they can stay like this for a moment. Later, the whole family walks back home together. This time, Natsuo and Hina walk side by side, holding hands, as they are no longer hiding how they feel. The next day, Natsuo is surprised when Hina says she still plans to move out. She feels it would be too awkward to stay after telling everyone she was leaving. But she tells him that he's always welcome to visit her, which brings a smile to his face as they can still spend more time together. Meanwhile, Rui feels down at home, knowing this will be her first time living without her sister. Her mom suggests she go out and do something fun, so she heads to the library, and runs into Kariya-sensei and his friend, Shu. She gives Shu a cold look, and he quickly asks her not to stare at him like that, explaining he hasn't seen Hina since their last meeting, but wants to apologize to her properly. So they end up at a cafe, and since Shu is paying, Rui orders the most expensive meal on the menu. Shu reveals that he and his wife are now divorced, but he promises he won't try to get back with Hina after everything that happened. When he asks how Hina is doing, Rui says she's planning to move out. She thinks it might be because of their argument, but Shu says that if Hina says it's not, then she's probably telling the truth. This helps Rui feel a bit better. Later, while Hina packs her things, Rui walks into her room and asks if they can talk. As they sit together, Rui suddenly begs her not to leave, saying they've always lived together, and she doesn't want that to change. She asks if there's anything she can do to make her stay, but Hina tells her that there's nothing she can do, as she just wants to live freely and hopes Rui can understand. When Natsuo gets home, he finds an envelope in his room. When he opens it, he finds a key to Hina's new apartment and feels a little excited. Rui walks in and asks about it, but Natsuo hides the key and tells her it's nothing important. The next day, Natsuo and his family help Hina move into her new apartment. As they all eat dinner, her mother jokes that Hina might get married soon, and she secretly smiles at Natsuo, as if hinting at something. Back at home, Natsuo stares at the key in his hand, realizing he still hasn't told Hina about how he really feels. Just as he's about to leave, he sees Rui standing in Hina's old room. Natsuo says the room feels empty now, and Rui quickly hugs him, saying she's glad he's still here. But Natsuo gently pulls her away and tells her that he'll always be there for her, but only as her stepbrother. Later, when their dad gets home, he sees Rui cooking Natsuo's favorite food. But she says Natsuo won't be joining dinner because he's going to Fumiya's place. In reality, Natsuo goes to Hina's apartment. He finds her sleeping in her room, and when she wakes up, Natsuo tells her he's ready now, as he wouldn't even mind dying with her. Hina admits she still feels like a failure as an adult and a teacher, but his words make her happy. Natsuo feels relieved, and he gives her a real kiss. They keep kissing, but when Natsuo wants to go further, Hina gently stops him, saying there's no need to rush, since this is just the beginning of their love. As summer break ends, Natsuo and Rui walk to school together, and suddenly Alex shows up. He awkwardly introduces himself to Rui, and asks to be her friend. After finding out they are in the same club, Alex decides he wants to join the literature club too. When they ask Kariya-sensei if he can join, he immediately accepts him even though Alex only knows the 3 little pigs. Later, when Hina reminds Natsuo's friends to finish their homework, she completely ignores him, which makes Natsuo feel uneasy. After Hina comes out of the bathroom, Natsuo shows up and asks if she's messing with his feelings. Hina is shocked and quickly pulls him somewhere private. She tells him she feels the same way about him, but she wants to protect their forbidden relationship. Just then, the vice principal walks by, and they quickly hide and share one more kiss. Since then, Natsuo starts visiting Hina's apartment often, and Hina even learns how to cook for him. When the school festival begins, the literature club opens a maid cafe to raise more money. During the bonfire night, everyone has fun, and Rui quietly notices Natsuo and Hina looking at each other. The next day, the club realizes Kariya-sensei hasn't shown up for 3 days, so they decide to check on him. When they get to his apartment, a young woman opens the door and lets them in. They wonder if she might be one of Kariya's students, but when Kariya appears, he explains she's actually his editor. He tells them that he's fine, as he's been staying up late writing a novel, which made him sick. When Natsuo asks his pen name, Kariya reveals it's Yu Hasakawa, who turns out to be his favorite author. Kariya then asks if Natsuo wants to enter a writing competition to become a professional novelist, and Natsuo gets super excited and says yes right away. The next day at school, everyone talks about Kariya's secret identity. Natsuo teases Ashihara, saying she must be relieved the girl wasn't Kariya's girlfriend. Feeling embarrassed, Ashihara accidentally pushes Natsuo, and he falls down the stairs. Back at home, Hina rushes over to check on Natsuo, who now has a broken leg. Rui asks if Hina will stay the night, but Hina says she has to prepare for her class tomorrow. While Rui cooks dinner, Natsuo tells Hina he won't be able to visit her apartment for a while because of his injury. Hina tells him to rest and get better soon. After she leaves, Rui watches him eat and suddenly says she's actually glad he broke his leg. Natsuo looks confused until Rui suddenly kisses him. She says he's been skipping dinner and always going out at night, so now she finally has a chance to take care of him. The next day at school, Ashihara feels guilty and kneels in front of Natsuo to apologize. She even offers to pay for his injury, but Natsuo says it's okay. While Natsuo is taking a bath, Rui suddenly walks in and says their mom asked her to help him, which sounds super suspicious. With the lights off, she starts washing his back, but when she tries to grab the soap, she accidentally grabs the wrong one. Later, Rui tells the boss what happened, and he can't stop laughing. She also tells Fumiya that Natsuo won't be coming over for a while because of his leg. But Fumiya looks confused. He says Natsuo hasn't been coming to his place in a long time, which totally shocks Rui. Back at home, Rui confronts Natsuo and asks why he lied. She tells him that Fumiya said he hasn't been going to his place. Natsuo quickly says he's been going to Momo's place for dinner, but didn't want to tell her because he knew she would get jealous. Surprisingly, Rui believes him and asks him not to lie again. That night, Natsuo calls Fumiya and apologizes for not telling him sooner. Fumiya says it's fine, he's just glad Natsuo didn't give up on his first love. When he asks if Natsuo can really keep this up, Natsuo says everything is under control and that he's getting serious about his future. The next day, Natsuo gets a selfie from Hina, and he realizes just how much he missed her. When Rui walks in, Natsuo tells her he's going to Fumiya's place to apologize, and she believes him. But in reality, he's heading to Hina's apartment because they haven't seen each other in a while. Just as things are starting to get romantic, someone rings the doorbell. Hina opens the door, and it's Rui. Without hesitation, she walks inside and sees Natsuo. Realizing he lied again, Rui runs away in tears. Hina asks Natsuo if he told Rui where he was going, and he admits he lied about going to Fumiya's place. When Natsuo gets home, he asks his dad if Rui has come back yet, but she hasn't. Then Fumiya calls and says Rui came to his house to pick him up because of the rain, but Fumiya lies, telling her that Natsuo already left earlier. Feeling guilty, Natsuo runs out to look for her, and finally finds her sitting alone in a park. He apologizes, but Rui immediately slaps him, and calls him a liar. After things calm down, Rui says that when she didn't find him at Fumiya's place, she went into his room and that's when she saw the novel he was writing. It was about a student in love with his teacher, who already had a boyfriend. After reading it, everything finally made sense. She then asks if it's true, if he really loves Hina. Natsuo says yes, he has loved her for a long time. Rui is shocked and asks Natsuo how long he's had feelings for her sister. Natsuo says it's been a long time, way before they started living together. Rui asks what he's going to do now, and Natsuo says that since Hina accepts his feelings, he wants to be with her. Rui then kisses him, saying it'll be the last time. When they get home, Rui lies to their mom, saying she just waited out the rain and Natsuo came looking for her. They go upstairs and Natsuo tries to thank her, but Rui quietly closes her door. Later, while taking a bath, Rui starts crying as she knows she can't win against her older sister. The next morning, while walking to school, Rui tells Natsuo that she'll try to stop liking him, as it's the only way she can move on. She also says she'll still treat him like family and help take care of him until he's fully recovered. Later at school, the teacher announces that the second-year students will be going on a beach trip to Okinawa. Everyone's excited, except Natsuo. During break, Hina calls him over and asks how Rui is doing, since she hasn't replied to any of her messages. Natsuo tells her that Rui has been avoiding him, but he hopes that this won't ruin their relationship. Later, Hina sees Rui in the hallway, but Rui walks past her without saying anything. Later in the club, Kariya announces the winner of a writing contest and it's Tachibana Rui. Everyone's happy for her, but Natsuo feels a little sad. After school, he hangs out with Ashihara, who's also upset she didn't win. However, she encourages Natsuo not to give up and reminds him why he started writing in the first place. Feeling motivated, Natsuo visits Kariya's apartment and asks him to be his mentor. Kariya refuses at first, but after seeing how serious he is, he finally agrees. Natsuo tells him that he wants to be a novelist and make a living from his writing. Kariya can tell that Natsuo feels jealous of Rui, but he also sees that Natsuo has great potential, as he just needs more practice and hard work. Back at home, Natsuo congratulates Rui, even though she doesn't look happy. He tells her that she should feel proud of herself. Later in his room, Natsuo admits to himself that he was jealous, but that's exactly why he'll try even harder. From that moment, he starts studying the books Kariya gave him and tries writing a new kind of story. After a few days, he shows his story to Kariya and promises to submit one every week as part of his training. The school trip to Okinawa finally begins, and everyone's having a great time. They head to the beach, where the boys get excited seeing the girls in swimsuit. While Hina's playing volleyball with her students, Rui suddenly shows up and asks her to talk. She tells Hina that she's starting to dislike Natsuo, and Hina says she'll break up with him so everything can go back to normal. But Rui tells her not to, because even if they break up, their feelings won't just disappear. Hina asks if they can be sisters again, and Rui agrees, so Hina happily hugs her. Meanwhile, Natsuo and his friends visit a nearby shop. He sees some rings and decides to buy one for Hina. Later, while Hina is talking with another teacher, she gets a message from Natsuo asking to meet. As everyone waits for the fireworks to begin, Natsuo sneaks into her room and gives her a warm hug. They both start talking at the same time as Natsuo says he wants to be serious, but Hina says she wants to break up. She blames herself and asks if they can just go back to being step-siblings. But Natsuo refuses, puts the ring on her finger, and tells her he loves her just the way she is, leaving Hina touched by his words. As fireworks light up the sky, Natsuo promises that one day, he'll buy her a more expensive ring when they get married. Hina tears up with happiness, and they share a kiss. That night, they spend the night together. Afterward, Natsuo asks when she first started having feelings for him. Hina says she started falling for him even before she found out he kissed Rui, especially after their rooftop talk, leaving Natsuo speechless. Back at school, Hina gets called to the principal's office, where he shows her a photo of her kissing Natsuo by the hotel window. Hina is shocked when the school finds out about her relationship with Natsuo. She immediately kneels down and begs them not to publish the photo as she's ready to accept any punishment. Later, during the end of semester ceremony, the principal suddenly announces that one of the teachers is being transferred, and to everyone's shock, it's Hina. She thanks the students for letting her be their teacher and wishes them all the best, leaving Rui and Natsuo completely speechless. Natsuo tries calling her, but her phone is already out of service. He asks Rui if she knows anything, but she doesn't. He then goes to the teacher's room, but the vice principal tells him to go home. Meanwhile, on the rooftop, Kariya talks with Hina. He says after reading Natsuo's novel, he had a feeling something was going on and now, he knows the truth. He remembers when Shu once told him he once fell in love with a student. Kariya says that love doesn't always follow the rules, and Hina admits that maybe things would have been different if she had talked to someone, but she couldn't stop herself from loving Natsuo. Natsuo goes to her apartment, but she's already gone, leaving just a letter for him to find. Hina explains she asked for a transfer because their relationship was being discovered. She didn't tell him because she knew he'd give up everything to stay with her. She wants him to focus on his dream instead. She tells him not to come looking for her and to forget her for now. Even though she's weak, their time together was the happiest she's ever felt. She ends the letter with, "I love you. Tachibana Hina." Rui tells her friends that Hina is gone, and Natsuo didn't come home last night. When she finally finds him, he's sitting alone in Hina's empty apartment and now, he hasn't moved from his bed for a week. Fumiya gets worried and comes to check on him. After reading Hina's letter, he grabs Natsuo by the collar and tells him to wake up. He reminds him that Hina gave up everything to protect his future, and now he's just throwing it all away. Natsuo breaks down in tears, and Fumiya tells him to take a bath and start moving forward. Later, Natsuo goes to Kariya's place and asks if he can stop writing short stories for a while, as he wants to write something bigger. He pours all his feelings into his writing. Meanwhile, Natsuo's parents hire a private investigator to search for Hina. However, they also find out about Hina's relationship with Natsuo, but instead of getting angry, they decide to postpone their own wedding, so the kids can find happiness first. As Natsuo keeps writing, Rui brings him some foods and notices he hasn't eaten anything. She talks to Fumiya's boss at the cafe, who also worries about him. The next day, the boss invites Natsuo to a public bath. While they're in the bath, he shares his past as he used to be part of a Yakuza family but left everything behind for love. He reminds Natsuo that even if life is painful, you can't turn back time. All he can do is carry those memories and move forward. Back at home, when Rui brings him food again, Natsuo finally starts eating and thanks her, which makes her happy. Over the next few days, he pouring his heart into his novel as he's slowly returning to his old self. A few weeks later, Rui is surprised when Natsuo steps out of his room. He tells her that the novel is done and asks if she wants to be the first to read it, and she says yes. He also apologizes to his parents for all the trouble, and they're happy to see him doing better. On New Year's Day, Natsuo and his family go to the shrine, and he's surprised to see the literature club members waiting there. He tells them he's ready to submit his novel, so they all head to Kariya's place. Later, Kariya is impressed by how much Natsuo has grown and secretly enters the novel into a writing contest. A week later, Kariya invites Natsuo to his place, where someone's waiting to take him somewhere. It turns out to be the literature awards ceremony, and Kariya surprises him that he's won first place. Natsuo goes up on stage and thanks everyone who supported his dream of becoming a novelist. He feels so happy as his dream is finally coming true. But when he gets home, Natsuo sees a girl with long hair looking in the mirror. Thinking it's Hina, he runs and hugs her tightly, saying how much he missed her. But when she turns around, it's Rui, wearing a wig that looks like Hina's hair. Feeling shocked, Rui runs to her room in tears. She explains that she borrowed the wig from Momo to see how she'd look with long hair. As they talk about Natsuo's feelings, he admits he still loves Hina. Suddenly, Rui pushes him down and kisses him. She tells him that she won't hold him back anymore, not even for Hina. Meanwhile, Hina is living in a new place with her hair now cut short. She just finished reading Natsuo's novel, Well See You, and she's still wearing the ring he gave her. Even now, she still loves him. So, will Hina wait for Natsuo's love, or will Rui be the one to win his heart? That's a wrap. Thank you for watching.